but authority makes a law, as Thomas Hobbes said. And full authority can never be achieved in any other form of government, except for absolute monarchy. When there is only one person enforcing the laws, they naturally seem more serious than when there is a group of people doing so, as government. Any citizen could declare that the members of the parliament have no right to tell him or her what to do, because that same citizen should have the right to influence politics. And that is essentially what democracy is supposed to be about. The English parliament is supposed to be democratic. And yet, when levelers tried to claim their right to have a say, they were prosecuted. Great democracy indeed. Kind of hypocritical. So, democracy does not really allow people to have any influence in politics and make their decisions for themselves. It just makes them live in an illusion that they are allowed to do so.
Madam Speaker, I raise a point of personal privilege.
Please cite your infraction.
The Crown Minister is, in a way, insulting the type of government we're currently running upon, which is the monarchy and the parliament. So by saying that it's corrupted, she is insulting us as parliament.
The judges will decide. They will mark it as what she said, and I will supervise it.
I would just like to say that in the rules, I am not allowed to insult the Queen, which I didn't. So thank you, Madam Speaker. Presence of more than one political power, such as political parties, divides people into groups, sometimes even making them hostile towards each other. A good example of this is the Russian Civil War, which was raging for 5 years after the emperor and his family were killed, from 1917 to 1923. Hundreds of thousands of people.
Madam Speaker, would the Crown Minister like to entertain a question?
I'll answer all questions in the end. Hundreds of thousands of people were killed only so that a few people could get more power. And that kind of power and influence is what brings out the worst in people. A good example of how people get when there is a parliament is what used to be an Italian city-state, Siena. In there, noblemen who wanted to become members of the parliament had to fight for it. They would participate in a race from the city walls to the central square. The first to get there would become a member of the parliament. But those races were far from fair. Most of the participants couldn't even get to the square because they were so injured by the other competitors. Some of them even got killed. Is that kind of vandalism and uncivilized behavior what limited monarchy is supposed to stand for? Something like that will never happen in an absolute monarchy, because one person already holds all the power to him or herself.
Boo!
So there would be no need for little wars to break out between noble households.
Madam Speaker,
And here I would like to say something.
may I entertain a question?
All questions will be entertaining, yeah. And here I would like to say something. Madam Speaker, as member of the opposition, said that only one person does all the decisions. Well, not really, because an absolute monarch has all the advisors. So that is not really true. Another quite obvious reason why absolute monarchy is better than any other type of government is that there is no danger of corruption. A parliament made up of many people is made up of many people. Even if most of the people really wanted to improve their country,
Madam Speaker, would the Prime Minister like to entertain a question?
all questions will be entertained in the end, as I said 3 times before. Human nature cannot be escaped. People who have given power want to get more of it, and it only takes one person to corrupt a group of people. In absolute monarchy, corruption by the lower officials is considered a personal crime against the monarch, and the queen or the queen is obviously allowed to respond to it. The monarch, him or herself, would not engage in theft because everything already belongs to him or her. Another point that I would like to make is that people usually find inspiration in only one person rather than a group of people. Some example being Julius Caesar, Alexander the Great, Genghis Khan. This fact that only an individual can be so inspiring can be proved on numerous examples, the Gallic Wars being one of the most striking ones. more precisely, the Battle of Gergovia. The Romans were surrounded by Gauls and were losing. This was a very unusual situation for the Romans, and the army was getting desperate. Caesar, observing that from a safe distance, decided to do something about it. He put on his red cape, which was making him recognizable, and dashed into the battle. As soon as the soldiers saw him, they got so enthusiastic and got so much more encouraged, and that was only achieved by his very presence. The enemies, on the other hand, got scared and started retreating, even though they were much stronger and there was more of them. So a presence of such an influential person can do that. Caesar was the one who brought such a glorious victory to the Romans. That could not be achieved by a group of people. In the end, almost all great powers were absolute monarchies. Ancient Egypt, ancient China, Mesopotamia, Ottoman Empire, Russian Empire, France, Spain, Sweden, just to name a few. Even some of the 21st century absolute monarchies are still leading power in some aspects, like economy. For example, Qatar or Saudi Arabia or Oman are still extremely influential. Qatar is the second world's per capita income country in the world. The only country that has a higher income is Liechtenstein. Qatar also has one of the world's fastest growing economies. However, all of the great powers that stopped existing actually fell after the power was passed from an individual to a group of people. For example, the Serbian Empire was one of the most developed countries and cultures in Europe at the time.
Woo!
I can name many sources that support. Anyway, during
Madam
time of
Speaker, I raise one point of personal privilege.
You set your infraction.
The Prime Minister, right now in her speech, in a way, pointed on the representative or queen herself,
How so?
the leader of opposition.
Why are you thinking?
He's
She
not.
insulted the queen. No, she didn't. She will explain. She didn't. She will explain.
That point of order is tabled, meaning that the judges will decide.
She wasn't.
Anyway, that was the time of Stefan Lushan's reign. Yet after his son, Uroš, inherited the throne, he started giving more power to his officials and noblemen, and they slowly fragmented the country within its own territory. After he died childless, there was no one to keep the country together. The empire was bound to fall. To conclude, absolute monarchy is the most efficient form of government because it allows for quick and decisive decision-making.
Boo.
It is good for military command. It allows for long-term stability of leadership. When
Boo!
government is frequently changed, it causes people to feel unstable and insecure. And unhappy common people are the worst thing that can happen to a country. Absolute monarchy can also create a higher sense of nationalism and national unity, which means it unites country more than anything else. And this is why absolute monarchy is the most efficient type of government.
Madam Speaker, will the Prime Minister now, at the end of her speech, entertain a question?
Yes.